So here it is, the long-awaited new project. It's a Mercedes Vario 814D. And for those of you that are wondering what 814D stands for, allow me to digress. The 8 is because it's a 7.5 tonne. Mercedes rounded it up to an 8. The 1.4 is because it's 138 brake horsepower. Once again, Mercedes rounded that up to 1.4. The D, well, that's obvious, it's because it's diesel. And this beast has a 4.2 turbocharged diesel engine. Let's take a quick tour of my new van. Start on the inside, shall we? Now, this Mercedes Vario did start life as a cherry picker. Therefore, it hasn't done a lot of miles. It's only done 102,000 kilometres. Look at that. Which equates to around about 63,000 miles. And it really does tick all the boxes for me, because when I started searching for a Vario, I wanted one that was old and as basic as possible with as low mileage as possible. Now, of course, there is one downside to this being a cherry picker, and that is that we don't know how many hours it's actually run sat operating the cherry picker that was once fixed into the back of this. But for me, I'm really not worried. After all, these engines are known to do over 1 million miles. But the main thing is, all the running gear has only done 63,000 miles. Therefore, in my mind, I'm thinking it's a good one and it's a no-brainer. My main concern at the moment is sorting out what's in the back. If you look through the window, you can see there's not a lot there. The previous owner, Richard, had already taken the boardings out of the back. Thank you, Richard, saved me doing it. He's also removed the crane as well, more importantly. So basically, Richard has done all the hard work. Now, I've already started cleaning the rust off in the framework in the back, and I have found a little tiny bit of rust that will need welding. So let's jump in the back and I'll show you what I mean. And this is the only bit so far that I've found. So I'm quite pleasantly surprised. I was expecting a lot worse. Take a look at this. Me and Richard spotted this when we was looking over it, so it wasn't a big surprise. And it's not that much to do, really. You know, I just want to clean that up a bit more. Clean it up on the outside as well. Weld a nice strip along there. I think that is about all the welding I need to do so far, fingers crossed. But I will clean the other side of this now, and I'll probably end up cutting most of that out and then welding a new strip in. So that's my job for the day. First, I'm wondering if I can actually open the sliding door from inside. One thing I haven't tried is actually opening a door. Oh, look how easy that is. That opens surprisingly easy. That's easier than opening my Sprinter. And also I've got to cut this out. Obviously the bulkhead's got to come out as well. That is a solid bit of metal there. Might come in handy, that bit of metal. That's definitely what we need when we do any patches in the van. Right, let's put some dirty clothes on, get some welding done. Well, as it turns out, my gas regulator's gone walkabout, so I've had to go online and order another one. It's going to take a couple of days to get here, so in the meantime, I'm going to get my angle grinder out, put a zip wheel on it, and prepare or treat all that surface rust around the van. I'm going to start with the wheel arch, then jump in the van and start with all those struts in the floor, strip all the rust off, and then treat it with Cure Rust. And once that's all set and done, I will then get some chassis black paint and paint it all, so hopefully keep all that rust at bay. Right, let's get some dirty old togs on and get cracking on with this rust treatment. So here we are, this is the underside. This is the under sill that had come off. You can see it's nice and thick. It really is thick, rubbery under sill. It's just a shame it must have split and allowed moisture to get underneath, and that has spread the entire length of this wheel arch and on the back edge there. Such a shame. If this hadn't split, then this would be as good as the other side. The other side, by the way, is absolutely perfect. There's no rust at all the other side. It's just this one little tiny patch. But thankfully, this undersill has been put on there since it was new, and that's protected the rest of the wheel arch. The rest of the wheel arch is absolutely perfect. Look, even these edges, absolutely spot on. No rust whatsoever, including the back edge as well, where I would expect to see it rusty. Nothing. The undersill's worked. There's a little bit come off under there, but that's because of a spray suppressor that was hanging down here once upon a time. You can see that's completely rotted and gone, but that doesn't matter. We can just grind this off and put a new spray suppressor on there. It's not a problem. even up underneath here, you can see it's pretty good as well. I'm really chuffed with how that's all turned out. Now that is. Right, so all I've got to do now is get my grinder, clean all that area, and then we can take a close look and see how much we've got to cut out before we can weld a new piece in. Loads of it, like gallons. Look, this is this area here, and the outriggers for the safety bars. Quite pleased actually how good a condition these are in. It's just all surface rust. There's no actual holes. It's just surface rust. It really is. I'm really pleased at how good this is. That is it, that bit there, I think that's the only bit of welding we've got to do. Yeah, strangely enough, but all these, they're solid, absolutely solid, no rust at all. That's a good job. Well done.
I think he's enjoying himself. A little too much, maybe.
Well, we've ground out all of the rust. We've treated it with Cure Rust. As you can see, it's all been treated. We've even treated the bits in the ceiling, that ring up there where the cherry picker used to go through the roof, and there's some strange little square bits that have been welded to the roof as well. Not quite sure what they're for, but they're not on the outside, they're only on the inside. There's nothing on the outside to suggest these have gone right through. So I'm just going to leave them there and paint over them. I'm going to use some red oxide primer for that. I'll just show you the ring. Get over it so I can show you. So I'm not going to try and remove this big ring, I'm just going to leave it in situ. After all, we're going to insulate the ceiling anyway, and this does add to some sort of strength to the ceiling. If we try and grind this off and take it away, I'm sure it's going to make the ceiling a little bit wobbly, a little bit weak. So I'm just going to leave it in place, paint it with red oxide primer, job done. and check I'm not on fire. Now we're all good. It's always a good idea to check the other side, because obviously there's underseal and you think the other side of the panel that you're welding. If you haven't cleared it properly, then that underseal can actually catch fire. So just bear that in mind if you are doing any welding on your vehicle. It doesn't look very pretty, but then the wire in the welder is really old. So I'm kind of welding rust with rust. So it's kind of splattering a little bit. But it'll do, it's good enough for jazz. Well, there you go, that's my little bit of welding done. Let's hope that is all the welding I need to do in this van, because let's face it, it ain't pretty. I've not done any welding for years. But we got there, it's all patched up, and I've painted over it with red oxide primer, and in the morning when that primer's dried, I'll put a bit of chassis black over it as well. Try and make it look a little bit prettier than what it actually is. But it doesn't matter, because once the floor goes down, you're not going to see it anyway, and as long as it's waterproof, that's all that really matters. Well, I've managed to repair the kink in the pipe. You can see I just simply put an elbow in there, and it's only a breather pipe, that's all it is. So I'm really pleased with that, that's done. My welding, that's come out really well. I'm super pleased about that. I know it looks a little bit messy, but it's all right, it's done. So that's basically it. And the great news is my phonic plywood has turned up. It's a special type of plywood. It's impregnated with resin, makes it super waterproof, and that plywood is what I'm going to lay down on top of my rafters here. Could we call them rafters? Anyway, the phonic plywood has turned up, so that's my next job, is to get the flooring down inside this Vario. I'm really looking forward to doing this. So once that floor's in, then we can start planning out the layout of the camper. That's when the fun starts. Whilst I was underneath the van, I had a look at the brake discs and pads. Well, the discs are pretty good, but the pads are absolutely shot. They're all crumbling, it's like they've just crumbled away. So I need to put new pads on this, front and rear. So that is my next job. And that will be the next video. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video, you found it mildly entertaining, slightly informative. If you did, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you very soon. Ta for now.